Once too often, a joke or a comment, I know you too well to believe it. Your acts escalate into misogynist hatred and I'm choked up just trying to broach it. You can call me a wuss, or daft, or too soft for wanting to say what we should, afraid of the judgment we might face when someone asks us if we're good. We can bottle and bury and burrow it down till we're blue like the ways of our dads. Or we can introduce a simple question. You sound, lad.
Gender-based violence is prevalent in society. Every year, 4 million women and girls across Wales and England report criminal experiences perpetrated by men and boys. We often hear the perspectives of women when it comes to red flag behaviours. But without men being part of the conversation, it's hard to see what we can do to help make a change.
We need to have a perspective from young men about what will work for them to understand some of the challenges that young women face. And what we know at the moment is there's massive challenges around who am I as a young man.
We have this false myth, this false belief in society that if we open up to our friends, we won't be met with compassion and empathy. But the boys here in Wales have shown me otherwise. You know, they are wanting to listen. They do want their voice to open up to.
Some of the stuff that we've heard is that they don't like some of the behaviours they're doing, but they're doing them because it's part of their group and it's a social norm and they're following with those things. I'd like them to feel the strength to be able to step in and say to their friends, like, when something doesn't feel right, because probably somebody else in that space is also feeling the same. They just haven't got the courage to do it.
Nights out, you see on nights out, some people are nicer, some people are a bit more, like, aggressive, so, especially, like, round here, like, the culture's, like, very, like, manly, so they probably think it's okay.
I don't know if you ever saw it, but I was a woman who was touched at a Cardiff City game, so I'm a Cardiff City fan.
Yeah, I remember that. That's terrible, that.
I went to the Cardiff City game and a man repeatedly touched me. When I asked him to stop touching me, he told me he wasn't a monster, and then he tried to persuade me to go for a drink with him. I'm quite a strong woman and I stood up for myself and I said I wanted to move, but nobody around me said anything. Like I say, for me, it starts with, are you okay?
Violence and harassment against women is all too common. But who is out there looking to make a change? For its efforts to tackle violence against women, Wrexham University was recently awarded White Ribbon accreditation.
It's usually women who are coming forward as the reporting parties. As men, we are not treating women in the way that we should be. That really brings to the fore the epidemic of kind of aggressive, violent behaviour and sexually aggressive behaviour of men and boys to women and girls.
You do see things when you're out, say, clubbing or something, that the things look a bit off, but you're always unsure whether or not, because you don't know, it's always one of those where you're not sure whether to get involved or just to stay out of it.
We need the conversation going or else no change is going to happen, and change needs to happen.
We have a very specific policy for sexual misconduct and violence, which allows us to provide support for those who are both reporting incidents, but also for those who are responding.
So, what do men and boys feel are the pressures put on them? And how do they feel they contribute to some of the issues facing women? Lee Evans is an avid gym goer and the co-owner of the Zito Run podcast, an online platform which provides a space for men to talk openly about their issues.
Why do you think a lot of men turn to the same thing, turn to drug abuse, turn to alcohol abuse? I was brought up on the traditional values, providing for your family, providing for your children. I was married by 22, 2 kids by 23. So it's a big weight on the shoulders for a young lad. I've responded to pressures positively, and I've also been stupid and responded negatively quite a lot as well. We haven't got the tools, I don't think. We haven't got the tools to communicate properly.
Cal Roberts is a music producer based in Flintshire who works with young musicians from the area.
Music's always been like a guiding hand to me, always. I think that's really helped keep me on an even keel mentally, which has also then kept me in an even keel in relationships. Maybe this is a stereotype, but men are perceived a lot of the times as keeping it all in, bottling it all up. And I think that's really unhealthy. I think that leads to some mental problems later in life.
I met Carl when I was about 13. Met him at an open mic night. Later on branched out into rap, and not going to go into too much detail, but going down a few dark roads, and Carl sort of showed me what to do and how to get out of that place. So
a lot of the lads I work with haven't really got a positive male role model in their life, and I feel like, I don't know who I am, but I feel like I can be that. I've definitely hurt people. I've definitely given people a tough time with my behaviours, and I feel like I'm in a bit of a redemption period, trying to make amends for some of that,
Someone who is trying to start conversations is Zhivago, a coach based in Newport, who creates safe spaces for young people to express themselves in the boxing gym.
Coaching is something I always had a passion for. I find it quite easy to talk to people or have an understanding of what they're going through. For me, boxing isn't about violence, it's strategy, it's strategic. It's like chess. It's like, how can I make you make a mistake and land and punch? It's not so much, I'm going to go in there real angry, because you won't get anywhere. You have to have a clear mind.
For me personally, the gym helps mentally, helps me get up in the morning, go to work, because it gives me that discipline. It's quite a good environment to come and just talk to people as well, like talk to my coaches, to fellow boxers, and just have a laugh, really. It helps you escape.
The relationship with my coaches and stuff is very important, but then even relationships with other peers in the gym, there's a huge age ranges and many different cultures, so it's, it's really good to just get to talk to lots of different people.
I'm only teaching them how to box, but I want them to be good people. So when they leave the gym, they take that discipline or they take those characteristics outside. They don't just turn it into some sort of violence.
I've seen toxic masculinity. I've been a part of toxic masculinity. For me, it's that wolf pack mentality of where you're all together as a group. You don't want to be the odd one out, maybe. You just look at the things that you do, or you just think, what are you doing?
In 2023, the Welsh Government launched the Sound campaign to encourage men in Wales to reflect on their own behaviour and healthy relationships.
Also learned things like coercive control. I didn't know what that was before we started this.
I haven't really heard like gaslighting, didn't really know what it meant, or love bombing.
Love bombing, neu love bombio. Ydych chi'n clywed love bombing o'r blaen?
As part of the Sound campaign, male role model, New Zealander Matteo Brown has made a trip to Wales to share his knowledge on breaking cultures of abuse.
I am here in Wales to navigate and talk to young boys in particular around masculinity, healthy masculinity, what they looks like, what they can look like for the future of our women, our children and our families.
Matt co-founded She Is Not Your Rehab with his wife in 2019. Since then, he has been on a mission to open conversations amongst men and boys in the hope of eradicating intergenerational trauma.
All those men that you've seen on that video, majority of them had done life in prison and then have changed their lives around. Our whole purpose for our movement is encouraging men to take responsibility for their healing. Our childhood trauma wasn't our fault, but our healing is our responsibility. And so more healed men means more healed families and communities, which means less violence, especially our statistics when it comes to family violence against women and children.
We need to have those spaces where we can have a counter-narrative that young men will listen to. Today we've got Matt Brown. He creates a safe space for them where they can say, these are the challenges for me, and this is what it's like, and he can provide that really positive role model.
What are you thinking young 20-year-old boys need in society today?
Direction, I think.
Direction.
Very lost, I think, is that sort of age group in modern society, very sort of lost in what to do. So yeah, direction, I'd say.
How about you, bro?
This might sound bad, but I always was in fear of my dad. Like, when the street lights came on, I had to be home. Yeah. And it wasn't the fact that, like, oh, the street lights are on, let me just go home. Like, my heart was pounding, like, I need to get home, otherwise, like, my dad's gonna punch me up, like, you know what I'm saying?
If they're having that conversation responsibly and safely and all of those things are being addressed, then we should be creating those spaces. That's better for all of us. So we need things like the Sound campaign and to build upon those kind of things to create those safe spaces.
Well, a lot of the work I do a lot of work around teaching people what intergenerational trauma looks like. Okay. So it's trauma that's been passed down from generation to generation. It's a very real thing, but my messaging whenever I speak or go into spaces, mainly male-dominated spaces, is to believe and hope for intergenerational healing.
So I was raised by strong women. My dad wasn't around, my mum had got rid of him when he started getting involved in heroin and all that sort of stuff. So I had a stepdad, and he was a positive role model in the sense of that he was a hard worker, he was a provider. All that stuff was really invaluable, but I think, especially for me, I needed love. You know, I needed love as a young man. I needed a hug and to be known that I was cared for, you know, and I think he was of the generation that didn't do that.
My father was, you know, I still have a good relationship with him now, but he's more like a friend than a father. I sort of that the negative aspects of masculinity were instilled from a young age in me, I think, and you know, as you grow older, the things that you see as a child come out, you know, they're instilled in you, whether they're good or bad.
Young men need love, do you know what I mean? It's like, that's a difficult thing to touch on with your dad when you've never ever spoke about that kind of stuff. And I can't imagine he'd ever spoke to his dad about that sort of stuff either. I think there's some generational stuff goes on that causes us to be a bit broken maybe sometimes.
You know, all I can do is own what I've done in the past and hold myself accountable for my issues, but, you know, like many other households in the UK and around the world, my kids got to see stuff that they shouldn't have. And it guts me, to be honest.
Do you still speak to him, yeah?
No, thanks for the question, bro. Yes, I still speak to Dad, bro. That's
Is he the same, like, or is he, like, calmed down now?
He's calmed down big time. Good. I asked my aunties and sisters, you know, what happened to my dad, why he was so abusive to us. And their response was, your father was also abused, you know. And so that pain was then just passed on to us, you know. That's what we call intergenerational trauma, when it's just carried on. The cycle just carries on. You know, in no way do I, you know, give him green light, oh, it's all right that you're abusive to us. No way. But it makes me understand.
Like you said about the generational trauma, my dad had a harder upbringing than me. I kind of look at him and think, so he's just taking his frustrations out on me, and now this is where it stops, because I'm going to be the one to maybe raise my kids in a different way. I'll still take some traits from my dad, from what he taught me, but not all of them, sort of thing.
That's awesome, That's awesome. Men are not the monsters that society paints us to be. No man have I ever worked with, that I've ever sat in prison with, wakes up wanting to terrify his partner and his children. We just don't know any better because we've never seen better. And so how we show better and model better is we have to start having these courageous conversations with each other.
We are now starting to see a rise in men taking accountability and leading conversations to model the right behaviour for the next generation.
There's been times where I've been behaving inappropriately, where I have been cheating on girlfriends and stuff like that, and my friends, they don't just tell me what I want to hear. They say, you're out of order, you're affecting somebody's feelings, you can't be doing like that, you know. And I just think conversation is the key to it all. I just think it's the key to undoing some of these problematic behaviours.
Bottling that stuff up inside doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help you, and if you're not content with yourself, like I said, then you're not gonna be content in a relationship. There's always gonna be underlying issues.
Just talk about it, sit down. That was something that I never did in my life, was just sit down and have a conversation with people that you're supposed to love.
For more advice and support on healthy relationships, search Sound Cymru on Instagram, TikTok and YouTube.